Guys, this is Tarot with Kittens, Weights, and Tarot, and today I'm jumping in with some spooky stories. It's been a while since I've done my little spooky videos. I think I usually do them around Samhain or Halloween, but and I guess spread out throughout the year. I usually do some spooky stories, but I had, this video planned, and then I saw that there were other, channels that were kind of coming out with, talking about their spooky tales. And of course there's Papa Squirrel with his awesome, Sundays where he's telling his spooky stories. And I love watching those, by the way. So if you haven't checked out Papa Squirrel, please check him out. Brian is so awesome. And I was like, oh, well, I guess there's a lot of people that are in the same thought process that I am, is like, let's share some of our spooky stories. And kind of the purpose of sharing them is just to kind of let people know that if you have had some experiences that you can't explain, you're not the only one, which makes it kind of not a uncommon experience, which makes it, I think, less scary. And for me, when I was a child, when I was younger, these things were very scary to me because I couldn't understand them, and it was just, and there were people in my life that were not very helpful with understanding them. I mean, I had, some people like my Nana and stuff like that. My Nana was always talking to spirits all the time, but it was just kind of difficult. And well, I guess I grew up in kind of an odd neighborhood, and and as I got older, and I started reading more and trying to understand, spirit and energies and, vibes and stuff like that, because not everything is a spirit. The more I learned and tried to process that, what does that mean for me, and kind of making my own language of it, the less it became scary. And now I will tell you that sometimes I do get the goosebumps, and not the kind that just because there's energy nearby I have goosebumps, but sometimes I get the goosebumps because, yeah, I might be a little unnerved sometimes, but I never run away now, and I always stand my ground, and I always let whatever energy know that, hey, this is my space, and not like the OG MySpace, but this is my space. And yeah, and if I haven't invited you, then you need to take a hike. So I'm totally cool with that now. I'm a medium. I'm always talking to spirits and whatnot, and have my mediumship readings. But yeah, being a little kid, it was a little creepy. And so with these stories, I don't think it's really meant to scare you. Yes, they may be a little freaky, but it's more to put that stuff out there that, hey, if odd things have happened to you, chances are it's not all in your head, no matter what other people say. Because usually when people are like, oh, you were just dreaming, or it's all in your head, usually it's to help not freak themselves out, because they're trying not to get freaked out, and they're like, you know what, I don't want to believe in all that stuff, so we're just going to tell you that stuff doesn't exist. So this is me telling you, yes, of course that stuff exists, and it's just part of our universe. It's just part of our world, kind of like Ariel says, part of your world. But and yeah, I think the more we talk about it and share our stories, the less creepy and the more comfortable we can be with just the world around us, because that's just our world. And I wish that, maybe they had a course in schools where they taught kids how to deal with things like this, because I know that I have tried to help as a teacher, many of my own students, without putting any beliefs or anything, just letting them open up about their experiences and letting them know that that's completely fine. It's normal to be scared, and here are some things that you could do to be a little less scared. And I think that that's the best thing that people can offer younger children. Wish I had that when I was little. But anyway, yeah, so let's get into some tales. I have some tea here, and I think I want to start off going back to maybe when I was really little. I'll just share a few stories because I don't want this video to be super long, because literally, I mean, if there's 365 days times I've been alive, almost 39 years, next month I'll be 39, that's a lot of days and a lot of experiences. I could go on forever. Experiences are always happening. So yes, to keep this short, I'll just share a few with you. So the very first experience, we have to go back to when I was about, I guess I would say maybe 3 or 4. I can't really go past 3. It starts to get really fragmented. I mean, I have a pretty good memory. I have like a really good memory. But as we get like beyond like 5, like going back into like 4 and 3, like my memory is a little spotty. But some stuff just made such an impact. I will always, remember it. So one of those experiences, I would say I was probably about between 3 and 4 years old. I know this is way before I started elementary school, like kindergarten. And my grandma and my grandpa had just moved to Ridgecrest, California. It's out near China Lake, where they do a lot of like bomb testing for the military. And so property is pretty cheap out there. And my grandfather wanted to build my grandmother a house, and wanted to build it just like she wanted it, with like a wraparound porch. And she always wanted, like one of those bench swings so that she could just hang out on her porch. She always wanted a yellow house with white trim, and he did build her that house. But while they were building the house, they had to have a place to live, right? So I remember going with my grandma and grandpa like during the summertime, because I spent my summers with them, looking for like a mobile home or something to stay in while they waited for my grandfather and my uncles to finish building the house. Like they literally built the house. Like they didn't hire people to come build the house. Like they built my grandmother's house. So I remember we went to, I don't think this was the mobile home they ended up staying in. I just remember it was one that they were checking out, and it was kind of overcast, not really cold, because unless it's wintertime, it doesn't really get cold in the desert. But it looked like there was rain on the horizon, which I love desert rain. It smells so good. There was like this like sandbox in the sand, because it's desert, outside of this property. It was just basically somebody like made a little square with wood and then put like actual like beach sand, because desert sand is a little coarse. And there was like, like a shovel and stuff like that. There was like toys in there for like a kid. And I was like, oh, so cool. And my grandma and grandpa were like, oh, well, honey, like, do you want to stay out here while we go talk to the lady, for the property? And I was like, okay. And I saw that there was like a little doll in the sand, and I was like, oh, this is so neat. So I'm playing in the sand. And that's kind of all I remember, is like, I thought it was like so cool to like pick up the shovel and watch the sand fall out of the shovel, because I'm like 3. And I'm like filling up this little bucket, and I'm playing with this little doll. And I thought this doll was so cool. And it was like this little blonde doll with like the eyes that close when you like, tip it backwards. And I'm like, yay. And all of a sudden, I hear another kid on the property. And my memory is like a little fuzzy here, but I do remember hearing like a little kid talking. And so I thought there was another kid that I could play with that was, maybe this was their toys, because I didn't quite understand that my grandparents were like looking for a property. I kind of thought that they were just hanging out at this house, and like these people still live there. And so I'm like looking around, and I'm like, hello. And then I don't see anybody. It's just desert kind of like all around me, except for this mobile home. Cause they're kind of out in the boonies. There's not really a lot of neighbors. And so I go back to playing. And then I could have sworn that I heard my grandmother calling me. So I said, okay, like I'll be right there. And so I left my toys, or the toys I found, in the sand. I went running to see my grandparents. And then I remember saying like, I'm here or something like that. And then my grandma and grandpa were like, we didn't call you. And I was like, oh, well, I was like, Grandma, you need to come see. I saw this really cool doll in the sand, and there's like a shovel, and there's like a pail, and I'm having so much fun. And so she's like, I'll be over there. And so she stayed inside, and I went back to where I was, and I saw the shovel and the pail were there, but the doll was gone. And I was like, what? I remember I was even like digging in the sand. I'm like, did I accidentally bury the doll? And I'm like, where is it? And I'm looking around. I'm like, where's the doll? And I was like really upset because that was like a cool looking doll. And so when my grandmother did show up, she's like, now baby, what did you want to show me? And I was like, there was a doll that was here. I was like, you saw, right? And she was like, yeah. She goes, I saw the little doll. And she says, did you misplace it? And I'm like, but it was here in the sand. And I was like, but maybe it was the other little girl. And she's like, what other little girl? I was like, I heard another girl here. She was like, that's probably just the wind. Sometimes the wind, it howls and it sounds like people and sounds like the banshee. And I was like, but no. And so there was that experience. And the mobile home they did end up moving into, I was like so creeped out in there. Just, I don't know. I didn't like staying there. And there was like the mobile home had like an attic. It's kind of weird. It was a weird mobile home. Like there was, and everything was made of particle board. And there was like these stairs, that you could flop down. And there was like this little tiny space kind of up there that I don't think that was actually meant to be a room, but my Uncle Danny like wanted to have a room. So like he made a room up there and he didn't want the room that was downstairs. And so I think there was actually a storage space in the like giant mobile home. But he like turned it into a bedroom, and I was like really creeped out up there. And I was really creeped out like in general. Like I always felt like there was something watching me in there. But yeah, so anyway, let's see. Then let's move on for our second story to my old house in Chula Vista. So that old house, I've always said, me and my brother were like, that house should be burned to the ground because it is nothing like but pure like spirit central of like weird stuff. Of like, some of the stuff is like kind of demonic and scary, and we're like, no. And we always wonder, like, the people that have moved in since, we moved out, like, do they like get all that weird stuff that like we had like over the years when we were there? Because we lived there from the time I was 6 years old until I was almost, I was 18. I was like almost 19, I think, because they were there until my first year of college, and then my parents got divorced, and then they moved out. But yeah, the house, I could go on forever with stories of that house. So we'll just stick with maybe one of those stories, and we'll do the shower stories. Oh yes. So the second floor, I think, was the creepiest of the entire house. And the creepiest room in the whole house was my mother's sewing room, which was, if you go up the stairs, which by the way, the stairs had walls on either side. So if you're going up the stairs, you have to go up them in the dark because the light switch is at the top. Like, why? Why would they do that? And you're in the dark, and it's this freaking 70s house. It was built in like 1971 or something like that. And so when you go up the stairs, there's actually a shelf behind you coming out of the ceiling where something could sit. And there used to be like a really like creepy statue that was there. So it's like, as you're going up the stairs, there's literally like stuff like behind you. And anyway, it's creepy. And it was like that gold like leopard print of like the 70s. It was pretty nasty carpeting, And a lot of the stairs were kind of busted a little bit, so there was a lot of creaking and all of that. And every time we'd hear like footsteps and creaking, my mom would be like, "Oh, the house is settling." And I'm like, "The house is settling." Like at the time, I was in high school, so it's like whatever, 1995, 1996. I'm like, this house was built in 71. How is it still settling? Okay, so the shower stories. So. I sometimes like people would be in the bathroom downstairs and I would have to take a shower before I go to bed. And my mom wanted me to start taking showers upstairs because at the same time, my brother was like so scared of the upstairs. And so he would be taking his bath downstairs. And so my mom wanted us, getting cleaned at the same time so we could go to bed at roughly the same time. And I am not taking a shower with my little brother. That is gross. So my brother is taking a bath downstairs, and I would have to go shower upstairs where it's really scary. And I would always try bringing the family dog. Family dog hated going upstairs. She would yelp and whine, and she would cower at the bottom of the stairs, staring at whatever always stood at the top of the stairs. So the place was scary, okay? I would get to the top of the stairs to go take my shower. I would have my towel and, you know, everything so I could take a shower. And I would always like put a blinder up so I couldn't see stuff moving in the darkened sewing room, because I would always see there was something that was in there and it was not good. So I would just like put my blinder up and I'm like, do, go into the shower, do, go into the shower. And then as you're going down the hall, there's also a creepy picture on the wall. And it was a picture of Jesus that was created by some priest, but it was the creepiest picture of Jesus. The background is black. Jesus looks dead. And it's like a side profile of Jesus, and he's in red and black robes. Like, it's the most demonic version of Jesus you've ever seen. So that doesn't help, okay? So you're going down the hall, and I'm like, do, don't want to look at creepy Jesus, do. You know, you're going down the hall, and then I go past there's a guest bedroom too. So it's technically 2 guest bedrooms upstairs, but one was transformed into like my mother's sewing room, right? So I don't even want to look at what's in the guest bedroom. And so at the very end of the hall, you have the bathroom. And I always tried turning on all of the lights. Like, you know, if I'm going to take a shower, all of the lights are going to be on upstairs. So I'm turned on the stair lights. I've turned on the hallway lights. I've turned on, you know, I'll reach inside the sewing room and I'll like turn on the light in there. And then I'll reach into like the, you know, with my eyes closed, reach into the guest bedroom and I'll like turn on the light in there. And then, you know, and then I have like the lights going. Oh, and I always brought my my boom box, you know, my radio, you know, up into the shower as well, not to have with me in the shower, but I need to play music loud so that I'm not so scared, because I could hear things all the time and it was so scary that I wanted music to drown out all of the stuff that I would hear, because I knew I wouldn't be able to go to sleep with all the stuff that was going on. So I would go take my shower up there, and it was a little tiny bathroom, and I think it was poorly planned because the bathroom door couldn't open all the way without slamming into the toilet. Like, that's how tiny the bathroom was. And the sink was literally like they had to like cut a sink into a corner. Like, it was, I don't think it was meant to be a bathroom in the first place, to be honest. So anyway, I would place my boombox on top of the sink, and I'd have it cranked, you know, I'm listening to my tunes, like jamming Z90, you know, R&B and hip hop, and then I would close the bathroom door, because stuff would happen if the bathroom door is open. Stuff would come into the bathroom, and it would scare me half to death. So I will close the door, and I will have my music blasting, and I'm in a good mood, and I'm singing, I'm in the shower, you know, and it's one of those where you have to like step into the tub, and it's got like a sliding door shower thing, you know. So I'm in there, la 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 la. And this happened on a few occasions, but I would hear a click, and my radio would turn off. And so it's not that it became unplugged or anything like that, you know, because all of a sudden I go, because then I know something is in the bathroom with me, and I'm not alone, and I'm naked. This is quite vulnerable. So I would like open the shower door and like look around out. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna be turning the music back on. Yeah, because I like music. Yay. And so I'd look, and literally the knob would be like, the switch would be flipped to have the radio turn on. So I would like turn it back on, you know, because it was turned off, and I'd be back to da 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 da. And then and this would happen quite often as well. You'd hear the doorknob going, you know, and I would kind of hear that kind of underneath the music playing, and I'm like, no, please don't open, please don't open. And then all of a sudden I would look, and I would get startled because I would see the door just slowly opening, and then clunk, as it hits the toilet. And I'd be like, you know what? My shower just finished. I decided I'm all clean now. And by golly, I don't want to be upstairs anymore. So I'd be like, da da da, finishing in the shower. We're just gonna towel off. I don't care if there's soap in my hair. So I would wrap my towel around me so fast, and I couldn't leave the lights on because if there were times that I ran down because I was literally so frightened by what was upstairs that I would go sprinting out of the bathroom, like ripping my boombox out of the wall and like be dripping wet, like sort of holding a towel on. And then my mom's like, did you turn off all the lights upstairs? I'm like, no, Mama, I did not. And she was like, go back up there and you turn off the lights. We're not wasting electricity. And I'm like, it's kind of weird up there, Mama. And she was like, don't be a big baby. Turn off the lights. It's just, what? Are you afraid of the dark? Are you afraid of this house settling? Like, there's nothing up there. And there's a picture of Jesus. It protects the upstairs. I'm like, yeah, well, that Jesus looks a little demonic. I'm just saying. So then I would I would go up there and I'd be so pissed off because now whatever is up there is now waiting for me as I go and turn off the lights. So I could literally feel it touching me the entire time while I'm still dripping wet in a bath towel to go turn off the lights. So, like I said, there are a ton of stories from that house and that period of my life, age like 6 to 18, that are not pleasant. And I was so happy when I went off to college and I lived in a dorm where all I could hear was the sound of people partying, being loud, and I don't care how loud they were or how loud they had their music at what hour of the night, because I slept so soundly knowing that it was coming from people who were alive. And that I could trace the sound to an actual living person. But then there was also like the fact that our dorms were haunted by Native Americans because our school was built on top of Native American burial ground. Like it really is. Like that's something that is like no joke. Like you could look that up. It's not hidden about the school. Like they fully acknowledge that. But because the school had already been built on it, they couldn't unbuild that part of the school. So there is a section of the school off to the side, the college, that has like it's a lot of stuff dedicated to certain Native American tribes, and they usually come for their festivals and pay their respects to their ancestors and stuff like that. But unfortunately, only some of the graves are there. The rest of the graves are underneath the original dorms that I stayed in when I was in college. So yeah, that's a story for another time. And then I'll finish off with one last story, and then that'll be it for you guys. We'll talk about when we moved in here. This one's a quick one. I have a lot of stories from this house, but it was only creepy when we first moved in. Then we set the energy straight in this house, and this house, yes, has a lot of spirit activity, a lot of energy, but it's no longer creepy. Like it's not, like it's cool. And everybody who comes here feels really at home and really safe in my home. So that's great. I'm glad that we reset the energy. But yeah, there was some just bad juju left over in this house. There was like a really creepy family that lived here before us, and they worked in the state penitentiary system. They were both like officers in the penitentiary. They had like kind of a weird daughter, and yeah, they were probably bringing home some pretty gnarly stuff, which didn't help the energy of this house. This house, I think at some point, it was a foreclosure. So there's I think there was like 3 or 4 families before us, according to our neighbor that's now moved. But yeah, he was here since the very first neighbor. And before, like, there were other houses on this street. So this is one of like the OG houses here, in Spring Valley. And this has a lot of activity on this hill, this particular hill. This was a vantage point of the Kumeyaay, the Native Americans in our area. And we still have the Kumeyaay Indians here. They have, there's different tribes and stuff like that. And we have a lot of different reservations kind of in this area. But yeah, this has a lot of activity, and there are a lot of people that complain of poltergeists in their homes that live on this hill. We don't have poltergeists. My house is nice. Okay, but this quick story, it was just after we moved in, and we were redoing the backyard, and we were putting like raised beds so that we could put like a vegetable garden and stuff out there. So my boyfriend went out there to go like measure, because we were gonna buy like some soil and things like that for the raised beds. So he just needed to measure some stuff. And I was already at school, and I was, off teaching. And at the time when we moved in, we had Presley, our old cat. So Wally wasn't even born yet, and neither was Loki. So this was OG Presley, and Presley was upstairs, and my dude said that he went out to go work on, like, measure the raised beds, and when he came back, the sliding glass door here, which I'm pointing to because it was right here, was locked. And by the way, when you lock it, because like the handle is like this, you have to press the lock down, and it locks like this. Like there's a claw that locks like this. So if you pre-lock it, the claw will just bang against the kind of frame, and it won't close. So you can't like lock yourself out. It just doesn't happen. And even if you slam that thing, like it's really hard. You have to go to push the lever down. Like you need some force. So there is no lever falling down, and there is no pre-locking the door before you go out. So he goes out, he measures, he comes back. And by the way, he's just like in his like pajama bottoms and a t-shirt, and the door's locked. And he's like, what? And we didn't have our new garage door and all that, so there wasn't a code to get into the garage, so you couldn't get in there. We didn't have extra keys for the house made yet, so there wasn't like a spare key outside, and all of the windows were closed because it was still the morning time. So he couldn't figure out like, how do I get back in the house? So he texts me from the outside because he had his phone on him, and he's like, the house just locked me out. Like, I swear, I should have saved that text message. But yeah, he was like, the house just locked me out. And I didn't see it till I was on my lunch break. And I was like, because my dude is like, so, like, before we moved in this house, like, didn't really believe in spirits and all that woo-woo stuff. He's Mr. Logic and Mr. Scientific Method. And now my boyfriend is so open to a lot of things because there is so much weird stuff that has happened to him that, yeah, he's like, well, there's probably more to life than I think there is. So yeah, my dude's totally open now. But yeah, so he was like, the house locked me out. So there was a ladder that we still had out back. So he took the ladder and leaned it up against our second floor, and he climbed over our balcony, and he remembered that the slider upstairs was open where Presley was in our master bedroom. And so as he's like trying to fall over into our balcony, he like sees our old cat is like, Presley's just like on the bed, like, what are you doing? Why are you climbing to the second floor? So yeah, so he came back in the house through in his pajamas, climbing a ladder to the second floor and coming into our sliding door that way. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other experiences. If you guys enjoyed this, let me know. I'll do some more spooky stories, maybe in the future, maybe once a month or something like that. But I like sharing these stories, and I often do during my live chats anyway. So, but this, I could just like have it here, So anyway, if you guys dug this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to click subscribe, and don't forget to click that ding, ding, ding notification bell for more videos just like this. And if you want to catch a reading from me, head over to www.kittensweightsandtarot.com. www.beverage.com. Not only do I have a plethora of readings, but I also have my bracelets that I make. I have my room and body sprays and my salves. I have my Wally's World Oracle, and as I say that, Wally is walking around the living room here. And yeah, if you want to throw a little of my way, think about joining the KWT tribe over at patreon.com/kittens, weights, and tarot. We got tons of cool stuff over there. We have witchy live chats, and depending on the tier that you're at, we have some mediumship live streams as well. So definitely check that out. And I will catch you spiritual homies later. Peace, love, and chicken grease. Peace out.